Keith was showing slides in Bryan, Texas, where I worked several years ago, and they had an incredible amount of success with 22 rehabs, with our facade rehabilitations at least, within about a 2-year period. And then waiving fees for certain specific types of development, not anything, but maybe it's anything in your downtown, or at least really critical things like housing. This is really important. You're very fortunate. Not only do they have a city government in your downtown, but they have a county, and a county that seems to be pretty cooperative with the efforts of the city and downtown and so forth. And it's going to be really important that future expansions of local government remain downtown, unless it's something that's sort of a nuisance, like a public works yard or something like that. You want to keep it downtown because that keeps people coming to the downtown to visit City Hall, the county offices, and the employees that work there as well, help to support the retail and dining. Also, you've got an amazing package of attractions right in this area, and I'm going to talk about the crater in a minute, but the other three kind of biggies, the river. I mean, kayaking, as you know, is some of the best in the country, and so the more we can do to promote kayaking and try to especially keep kayaking businesses near, obviously on the river, but near downtown. The casino, and I know this is a tricky thing because the casino can basically do what the casino wants to do, but to the extent that we could try to avoid, too much dining, retail, entertainment occurring there would be good. And again, I know your hands are somewhat tied. Fort Toulouse is a phenomenal resource. My visit there, there were some things that could be enhanced a lot, and I realize it's a state site, that means limited funding, but for example, the interpretation there could be improved. In fact, there were conflicting stories on when the various forts were founded and so forth. The bathrooms definitely needed maintenance, that sort of thing. And a lot of, fortunately, there is a Friends of the Forts group, and what Friends groups do, whether it's a battlefield or other historic resources, is they try to raise money and kind of bring these state or federal funded sites up to a little higher level. And so the more support that the Friends group would get, the better it would be, because that Fort Toulouse can become even more of an attraction that can potentially help your downtown. The last thing regarding these other attractions is the impact crater. And of course I'm aware that there's already a property that's been acquired, and there's been planning that's been done about having an interpretive center out there. And this is something that's totally up to the community. It's your decision. But we do think you should at least not totally close the door on the concept of seeing how you could either have a satellite interpretive center or the interpretive center in your actual downtown. I mean, if you look here, the proximity between downtown and the highest points on the rim is pretty considerable. And there could be an observation deck. You could do shuttle buses on Bald Knob Road. There's a gas line easement that's pictured here that some people might want to hike up. So that could really benefit the downtown area. I'll give you an example. I don't know, how many of you have been to downtown Corinth, Mississippi? Show of hands. Oh, wow. Well, in fact, I've been there with you, Nick. I don't know about you, Mickey, but I went with these guys. Corinth, you ought to go there sometime. It has a rich Civil War history. There was a siege shortly after the Battle of Shiloh, which is just north of there. And the National Park Service, about 10 or 15 years ago, they built an interpretive facility, millions of dollars, state-of-the-art. It's great. A lot of folks that go to Shiloh Battlefield then go down 18 miles to Corinth, go through this interpretive center. But when they chose the site of the center, they could have put it in their downtown, especially since a lot of the battle actually occurred in downtown Corinth, but instead they put it out at a distance that's too far to walk from the interpretive center to downtown. And it was just, I've always just kind of thought it was a big opportunity that was missed, and I see that a lot. And so I realize there's already been a lot of work and investment with the current site. But I think you at least keep the idea alive of looking at some way to benefit the downtown more with it, whether again it's a satellite or the actual center. Marketing promotion, your downtown should be your special event venue. I realize the riverfront's great, and a lot of events should continue to be held there. So you want to keep, the first thing you want to do is don't lose events that you currently have downtown. I see this happen a lot with downtown. So suddenly decide to move to the shopping center or something for a parade, which always kind of boggles my mind. but keep what you've got to begin with. Then identify existing events that might be held outside of downtown and figure out how you can get them downtown. For example, the brown bag concerts, maybe scary movie night. I know Crater Fest is held on the riverfront, but maybe there's components of it that you could try to get downtown. And then look for new opportunities, like some kind of a Shakespeare on the park. Once Lee's Park gets established at the new plaza area at the courthouse lawn, or maybe jazz performances or something like that. So, but always, the more you can get people in your downtown, the better off you are, because if they go there, they may not go to downtown Wetumpka regularly, and if they go for some destination, they have a positive experience, even if they don't spend money while they're at the event, maybe they'll come back in a week and actually visit a shop or dine in. Also, you want to use telecommunications effectively, and I'm going to talk in a minute about the downtown organization I'm going to recommend, but there should be a website that they have that talks about, events and so forth. Also, utilizing social media will be important, and this is somewhat related, but the cell service, everybody knows it kind of suffers downtown. Now, we don't have the answer for that, that's not our expertise, but that should be a priority to see what can be done about that. Joint advertising is important. Once you get a downtown organization, they can organize different businesses to do joint marketing, utilizing a logo for the downtown where they all pool their funds together and for newspaper ads or other types of advertising. Now, implementation. And I'm just going to hit on a few slides on implementation, but you have to have an organization that focuses on downtown. There's got to be somebody that gets up every morning and says, how can I enhance downtown Wetumpka? And maybe they're not full-time, maybe they're part-time, but it would be great to have something that's modeled on the Main Street, what they call the 4-point approach, which is organization, design, economic restructuring, and marketing and promotion. And again, if you could have a staff person, whether they're full-time or part-time, typically Main Street organizations or those that duplicate them have multiple committees that are organized around these issues. And right now, so I think 2005, 2006, the state of Alabama's Main Street program, the state program, took a big hit financially, and they've been kind of limping along. They only have 13 Main Street communities, and they're not accepting new communities. But if and when they're ever sort of reactivated, you ought to consider that. But you don't have to be a Main Street community to act like one. You can still use the same approaches. And so anyway, that's a way to do it. On public policy, that's something we didn't have time to get to in the 3 days we've been here, but what I'm going to be doing is looking at your zoning and figuring out, are there certain uses that currently are not permitted that you do want to permit? Downtowns are supposed to be rich, mixed-use environments, so they should allow a lot of different things, so long as they're not things that are sort of nuisances that you wouldn't want, and sometimes downtown districts allow things that you may not want, so we'll look for those as well. And then we'll revisit the boundaries of your B3. This dark red is your central business district. That's the zoning for your downtown. And especially as it gets up to the north, we're going to kind of relook at that, because if you remember the sort of cartoonish map that we had at the very beginning showed more kind of peripheral residential. So we'll look at those issues. Another thing that we think is really important, Keith talked towards the beginning about historic buildings, but it's critical that you establish a formal historic preservation program. And what that means is, because again, that's part of your brand, old buildings, there's a lot of consensus that you need to save buildings, but it doesn't just happen on its own. We recommend a preservation ordinance and design guidelines. And by the way, there are a lot of really good model ordinances that you can utilize right here in Alabama that are consistent with Alabama state enabling legislation. So that's not a big cost. Design guidelines would cost a little bit of money to be created, but you can get a certified local government grant usually to pay for those. You would want to designate a local historic district. You've already got the National Register, but a local district, and establish a design review body that would. And the bottom line is that when someone goes to make a significant visible alteration, visible from the street, that it would go through review. But there would hopefully be a nice, clear process so that everybody kind of understands what's going on. This is an example of guidelines. You want to base them on the federal guidelines, which tend to be very broad. But then you need to have your own specific guidelines that are tailored to your downtown, like something like this from another set of guidelines we've worked on elsewhere. And wow, we're there. I guess a couple things